Hey, good morning, YouTube. What's going on out there in YouTube land? Welcome to Friday, everybody. I'm still trying to get organized. It's taking me far too long. If it's possible to get organized. I hope everybody's doing good. If you didn't check out the evening chat last night, it was a good one. I think we got a lot off our minds. But there's your weather look in without a hurricane being on top of everybody. Finally got that out of the picture, but there was a huge amount of rain still moving around the central Midwest there and everything the last couple of days, and now on there into Canada and whatnot. It looks like there's some storms in Techland as well. So be on the, I guess, Texas, I would say. That's Oklahoma. Potential tornado weather still. Looks like we got Tommy Boy 9 has joined us. Good morning. Yeah, I'm here. You don't have to be, though. Hey, Billy Bird Outdoors. Good morning. How you doing? You fell out at the end yesterday, Tommy Boy? Yeah, I don't blame you. It was good. It was good, though. Got something out of it, if nothing else. But I don't see any hurricanes on the forecast, as they've been talking about the four of them that were lining up in the Atlantic before this Florence deal went down. But I don't see any follow on that they're concerned with those coming across, except for this just refreshed too. Okay, this, as soon as I load this, it changes its picture. So there is one here, but there's nothing landfall wise. But here's the development chances of a hurricane that they've got up. They're also predicting when snow should be falling across the U.S. Good luck with that. It's already snowed in Montana and Wyoming like 2 weeks ago. So they had a big rally for the president in Vegas this week, last night. That was a big deal. I mean, it was in a lot of the news and everything. But we'll try to avoid that. But I did want to bring up a couple things here, focusing on the economy. Home sellers are slashing prices. The big cities are always a big tell on what's going to go down. But I guess this is going back to September housing information, which is talking about the crumbling New York City real estate market has continued apace during the third quarter after more than half the homes sold in Manhattan during the second quarter closed below asking price. This is the worst quarter two tally since 2009, which we all know what happened back in that time frame. And while real estate brokers had hoped that a seasonal shift during Q3 would help lift sales, It appears canny buyers, wary of being left holding the bag, are refusing to indulge sellers' lofty asks. That's good. I mean, hopefully, it is the market just being rational. You would hope that people aren't willing to pay the crazy prices, especially if they don't see the rationale. But I guess it depends on how much money you've got. If you've got around, and the price really doesn't matter. And that's the biggest problem with most of this housing stuff is price is almost irrelevant because of inflation and incomes, and people, especially around here, so much of the housing that's being bought is by people who are turning houses in places like California where they make insane profits off their equity they've had for the last 10 years and turning and running with that over to here to put it into something much, much cheaper. So it's like price has no outcome. It doesn't really matter to them. It's so cheap compared to where they left. But I don't know that New York has that problem. So maybe you just got some smart buyers finally waking up to, I'm not going to hold the bag on this when the housing market collapses and end up in your home paying more. It's almost like buying a new car, buying a house. The real price of it is lower at a point than what you paid for it, and you're stuck with it. You need that gap insurance on your house almost nowadays, or concerned for it, because if the market drops enough, for an incident or something, you ain't selling it and making it back what you put into it or what you leased it or mortgaged it for. So it looks like a problem. So it says, with another post Labor Day wave of listings expected, a gut check as they realize they must lower prices to the point of demand, because the days of foreign to pay the Chinese premium are over. Foreign investors buying New York sea. That makes sense. That's where all the big money's coming from for places like that. But people are at any price. You can't just ask the sky. The quote, sellers with older listings are adjusting expectations just as a wave of newer properties hits the market in New York after Labor Day. In that same September week, Manhattan got 662 additional listings, third highest total for any week in set here. It's a big gut check for sellers, said Grant Long, senior economist at Street Easy. We're at a period in the sales market where sellers have been incredibly ambitious with the prices they're asking. They're having to come down and bring prices to where demand actually exists. Ambitious or greedy, which are back from all what they've lost against inflation since they've been holding on to this thing all these years, plus interest. But going on, as we pointed out earlier this year, sales of luxury apartments, $1 million or more. $1 million apartment's not luxury. Let that sink in your head. It's got to be a $5 million apartment to be considered a luxury apartment in New York City. Just FYI, if you wanted to be, luxurious, you have to put in the 5 million plus. More than 31% over the first 6 months of this past year, forcing sellers to slash price, and developers who have neglected the sub-luxury market in favor of supposed higher margins on the top end. Sub-luxury. 2.5 million an apartment. That's not luxurious in New York City. That's scary, isn't it? Here's an apt summary of the dynamics at play in the contemporary New York housing market, according to Stephen James, CEO of Douglas Elliman. Quotes, it's about perception that the market went way up, and it went way up real fast, and it's not having any more. It's not happening anymore. And I'm not going to burn by overpaying, said Douglas, who adds that buyers, quote, do not do believe that over time the market will go up, but it's not going up right now, end quote. Meanwhile, in the real world outside of New York, where the rest of us live, the familiar problems remain, with housing starts still lagging expectations. The housing market appears to be stuck in a vicious cycle. Low development and supply are squeezing prices higher, which are rising more than 2 times faster than wage growth across the nation. And as a result, most working and middle class Americans still can't afford to buy a home. Yeah, I mean, you got to work 2 people households just to eat nowadays, it seems like. That's just a foretell, maybe potentially on our housing market, but I don't know that people are necessarily pricing in due to the demand of buyers. But that's just a interesting article to look into. Our housing market bizarrely overpriced. It seems like it's got to take a cooling off period, I guess, or crash, whichever you want to say, around here. Check into the side chat. Got HRM Weapons Machinist. Good morning. How's it going? Oh, you just uploaded some hurricane videos. Okay, right on. You have to hit the few hours. Okay. You got limited internet connection, it sounds like, still as a result of the storm. Okay, I'll have to go check those out. Hopefully you got some good footage of you fighting back bears and lions and stuff and saving the day and saving kittens and stuff, right? That's cool. It'll be interesting to see some of the videos. Bobby Solar's Homestead did another video Wednesday. Solar setup, or a different battery setup. It wasn't solar. Just a way to get batteries charged and on your deal, set up, ready to go. For something just like, power outage, just solely to have a battery backup, kind of like you got a backup battery charger for your cell phone. Why not have one for everything else? Good morning, Barry Wood. Good morning, Castaway. How's things down under there? Thanks for checking in. Alicia Clegg is with us. Good morning. Have you found any homeless people? Alicia went on a trek yesterday to do some social experimenting and came up empty the last time. I don't think I saw the very last video, but I saw a couple where you were still looking around. I think I missed the very last conclusory one, but interesting that they've disappeared, as you say. And we can all wrap our conspiracy-minded heads around that stuff. Tommy Boy says, my home is... Tommy Boy says his newer home is paid for. Sorry, renters. All right, so moving on to another topic that we have talked about, a bit in the news, the solar observatory that closed down, that everybody was up in arms about, with the FBI rolling in there. And we talked about the sheriff being all sideways about the whole thing because he didn't get informed about anything and what the potential dangers were. Because up till, I think we covered this Wednesday morning, the sheriff still didn't have any idea what was going on. It had been over a week, almost 2 weeks, and there's something potentially dangerous, and the FBI is not telling him, and he was pretty upset about all that. And the FBI kind of just played silent on the whole thing. Well, I guess they came out yesterday, and the FBI floated the justification as there was some sort of child pornography incident going on there. So the Sunspot Observatory, New Mexico, or I should say the National Solar Observatory in Sunspot, New Mexico, was reopened this past Monday after it shut down September 6th following a mysterious FBI raid. So despite federal agents swooping in on a Black Hawk helicopter and a bunch of people around antennas and work crews on towers before the site was completely evacuated, the official explanation has left people scratching their heads. According to officials, they had been cooperating with an existing law enforcement investigation when a suspect in the investigation potentially posed a threat to the safety of local staff and residents. So they moved a small number of staff and residents off the mountain was the most prudent and effective way to ensure their safety. So it was all about everybody's safety. There was actually a physical threat, they were saying. So again, going back to the original story, still summarizing a little bit here. No word on why the FBI was involved or urgently needed to fly in a loud, suspect, spooky-looking helicopter. Instead of their words, not mine. Instead of simply driving to the facility, or why they couldn't just arrest the guy and keep the place open. Also, no explanation for the work crew climbing all over the towers or why they were shut down the post office. So, as reported in the local media now and several different media sources, the federal search warrant reveals the Sunspot Solar Observatory was shut down as FBI agents conducted computer forensic searches for child pornography. The source of the child pornography was traced to an IP address used at the observatory, and a source within the building observed a computer with not good images on it, the warrant states. That just doesn't sound believable to me. I they throw out this. It's just like, well, you got this new 3D printer guy who's in a pinch because he's been accused of such things, but they use it as a catch-all now to go after people that, because there's no defense for it. Just like Charles Dyer, if you don't know who the 4th of July Patriot was on YouTube, when they went after him, they went after him for basically child abuse, and nobody's going to defend it. But there was no evidence, and he's still in prison. As they charged him with that, and then they used the justification for that to get a warrant, and they found all kinds of other stuff they tried to entrap him with. But similar to this, sounds like a cover-up. Has the FBI ever rolled in like that anywhere to, I guess for pornography of that sort? Why wouldn't they just go to some guy's house? Why didn't they suspect everybody at the Solar Observatory and take them all in? Why were they worried about their security? Because couldn't it have been anybody at the observatory? Wouldn't they all be suspect and subject to interrogation or questioning? It doesn't jive with what the way things went down. Doesn't jive with finding that the computer was compromised and being sent from there. That doesn't jive with what they actually did. Because what they did was an actual physical security profile, like there was an actual threat of some sort to the facility, not some nefarious actions being taken on a computer. And for them to say that just doesn't seem genuine. It's a catch-all cover story that the average public will dismiss because it's such a serious charge that most people will just be like, well, go get them, turn the hounds loose. That's what I see. That's not even trying to be conspiracy theorist. That's just looking at it like that doesn't make sense. So the warrant also states that the suspect used the observatory's Wi-Fi and personal laptop to download the images. According to the FBI, a janitor is the main suspect, so they couldn't pick him up at home. Really, a janitor is so elusive that they were worried about him being a threat to the building and the post office. I guess he probably cleaned the post office too, took out the trash. And how is a janitor getting access to an observatory's computer, a computer laptop at the observatory? I don't think janitors get computer access to buildings that they clean. Wi-Fi really that weak in its password that he used his personal laptop? Okay. He was one of the few people that had access to the observatory from dusk till dawn. His name is listed on the warrant, but he has yet to be charged with a crime. That doesn't make sense. Okay. What are you guys out there saying? A Castaway says, "Would the Blackhawks have rockets, etc.?" Hopefully not. Some are skeptical about the explanation. Gee, you think? I guess I'm not alone. Given that all employees were evacuated from the site, about a dozen residents who live around the site were also evacuated. The U.S. Postal Service decided to evacuate employees too, according to a report of the Alamogordo Daily News. Exactly. Some guy downloaded some questionable porn, and you can evacuate the whole area. It doesn't. What planet? What is the physical security threat from using their Wi-Fi? And how can they not find a janitor? A janitor of all people, like he wasn't easily located during his daily routine. If they just let him walk in there for his daily shift, pick him up, just stand out there in their, black van and wait for him to roll up and pick him up. It doesn't make sense. There's no way. There's no way you get me to buy this story now. Evacuating employees, local residents, and post office employees seems a little extreme, doesn't it? How would a computer containing child porn, as terrible as it is, be dangerous to employees and people who are not even in the building? Exactly. No harm, threat to anybody, really. Why were the people working on the radio towers? Yeah, why is everybody scrambling around outside, doing whatever they were doing? When was the last time a pedophile was taken down with a Black Hawk? Yeah. We see all the increasing issues with the Catholic Church. We have the whole Hollywood pedophilia issue, but yet there's no Blackhawks roaming around these places. Nobody's getting picked up with the charges that are going on there. But some remote observatory in the middle of New Mexico justifies a basically military response. Are people really thinking here? So they conclude here, it appears to us that the official reason for this debacle is even more unreasonable than the official facts behind the, as it says here, behind the Skripal murders in England, though we are sure it will not be long before the Russians are blamed for the solar minimum and then need to shut down the observatory, either them or Trump. They kind of cut it with a little bit of a joke there, but it doesn't jive. None of the stuff that happened jives with compromised computer or Wi-Fi at the facility. Doesn't make sense. Nothing's ever happened that way. You can't get me to buy that. So whatever they're trying to cover up is probably going to be successful, because now people are going to leave it alone, and just some lowly janitor is guilty of child porn, and they're going to leave it at that. I don't see, who knows what they're going to be able to cover up now with this main story. But yeah, I don't know, Castaway, if that helicopter showed up that's in the picture there with the rocket pod and looks like, I don't think Blackhawks carry Hellfires, but those are pretty sizable missiles on the left side there. But hopefully it didn't show up in New Mexico like that. That'd be really bad. Alicia hypothesizes infighting among elites. Well, what's that got to do with the observatory, Alicia? Who in there is part of the elite? Especially has that physical security concern. Like, who are they trying to silence or put on lockdown? There's too many open-ended questions now that they provided this false narrative. It's just like it's not the October 1 cover-up wasn't, the whole Mandalay Bay thing wasn't as bad as this. This is a poorly executed cover-up because the story doesn't jive with the actions. At least, the Mandalay Bay, at least they, had the pretense and some potential. it was possible that he was alone, however improbable. um, so I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know. It's just BS from head to toe, if you ask me. So well, I guess we'll try to follow this if the local news tries to stay on it. I don't know that this is going to be able to be traceable anymore. Once they throw this out there, everybody's going to kind of back off, except for the most ardent conspiracy theorists. So maybe we can get David Knight or somebody up there to ask the tough questions and stay on it. Still said the janitor had not be charged with the crime, as after all that executed search warrant and everything else. So who was charged with the crime? Were things seen on a computer or not? They must have the janitor's laptop to know that he logged on with the laptop through the Wi-Fi and did whatever. So I don't know. That's just continues to be shady. FBI is doing all kinds of shady stuff. Not surprising they got something going on there. I can't even hypothesize, Alicia, what it would have to do with the elites. You know what I'm saying? I can't even think of the tie-in other than all the solar conspiracy, spaceship, all those things that were floated initially. That's the only thing that makes sense that go along with these things. Hey, Midwest Prepper, good morning. How you doing? Oh, I didn't catch this initially, so we'll pull this up to close it out. It's Yellowstone thermal spring erupts for the fourth time in 60 years. So potential increase in activity around Yellowstone, maybe, but also cool all the same, especially if you're there to see it. Not everybody's going to be able to get there for this. So for the fourth time in 60 years, looks like it erupted Thursday. Whoa. What happened to my article? Okay. Okay, a thermal spring near Old Faithful in Yellowstone has erupted for the fourth time in the 60 years. Ear Spring on Yellowstone's Geyser Hill went from being dormant on Saturday to spewing steam and water between 30 and 40 and 20 and 30 feet high. Not recorded since 1957. A height not recorded since 1957. It has since continued to erupt at a near constant height of about 2 feet. Well, that's kind of unusual. Yeah, if you haven't been to Yellowstone, a lot of the geysers are off and on. They erupt, for lack of a better word, ever so often. But to have a continuous stream is, kind of rare. There's a lot of pressure down there somewhere. It's continuing to erupt at a near constant height of 2 feet. Okay. Ear Spring, named for its resemblance to the shape of a human ear, is one of the dozens of geysers, pools, and hot springs in Yellowstone's Upper Geyser Basin. It last erupted in 2004. The eruption is among the new thermal activity seen over the last several days on Geyser Hill, just across the Firehole River from Old Faithful. The activity includes new erupting vents and surface fractures, and it has led park officials to close a boardwalk in the popular Upper Geyser Basin to prevent people from being injured by scalding water splashing on the popular boardwalk. It's definitely an increased activity, I guess, then. So the park spokesman Herbert said new eruptions are not a sign of impending volcanic activity. Everybody's going to be rushing right to the Yellowstone caldera imminent explosion, I'm sure. But every little got to take every little bit of evidence you get and try to figure out what's going on. The changes are continuing and could lead to new or different closures in the basin, he said. So going on down, Ear Spring isn't the first dormant geyser to come to life this year in March. The world's largest active geyser began the first in a series of eruptions for the first time since 2014. Steamboat Geyser's eruptions can reach heights of 300 to 400 feet compared to Old Faithful's 130-foot range. So good time to go to Yellowstone, see some new stuff you didn't see before. I haven't been up there since 2000. Last time I was in Yellowstone. It might have to be a good time to go back. So go side chat. Castaway says they predetermined a threat. Are you talking about the observatory still? Yeah, it's hard to say. We'll never know now. The cover up is complete, I would think. Billy Bird Outdoors says Tommy Boy hasn't had his fresh leaves this morning. Is Tommy Boy being grouchy out there in the side chat? Oh, Tommy Boy talking about the picture of the Kavanaugh accuser. Tommy Boy also moves on. Come on, crash already so I can get into my preps. Stacking rotating stock is getting old. Yep, just follow the collapsitarian mindset, Tommy. Were you in the chat last night, Tommy? I think you were at the beginning of the whole collapsitarian discussion. But yeah, so unless we're all gonna get to Yellowstone and converge there together to watch some geysers, I guess we'll check out until next time here on the YouTube. Thanks for checking in, everybody. But have a good weekend if we don't see you between now and then. And watch out for helicopters coming your way. You never know what they're going to be swooping down on you for. Right? All right. So y'all be good. And yeah, we'll check in with you later if you don't check in with us. I got to go check out HRM's hurricane videos. And maybe we'll talk about those tomorrow morning. 1 week after the storm type stuff we'll review. But we be good out there. We'll talk to you later. Live free.